we rolling? Hey everybody, here in North Hollywood and overseas. So I'm Andrea, for those of you who don't know, and we're here at the Mila workshop here. And oh, please do not clap. So thank you for coming who are here and for watching. We are going to have, is it just you, Samy, who's going to be speaking, or Philippe as well?
Samy, come on, go there, show you.
Samy is going to be talking about character modeling for animation and showing us, based on some models that he's done for Mila, and how we're going to incorporate that for those of us who are doing the character modeling for the show, the film. So without further ado, Monsieur Samy, please put your hands together for him.
Can you kill the lights?
Yes, I can.
Thanks.
Alright, so tonight I'm going to speak about the specifics of what I'm calling the generic mesh for the show. Basically, it's a single mesh we're going to be using throughout the pipeline to ease the rigging task, and also like saving a lot of time on blend shapes and UV mapping and loops, basically. So the mesh I designed for the show is a very simple one, pretty low res. The mainstream is that we have to observe is that I marked on that mesh all the important part with a darker gray. These are what should always be. Basically, the knees should always be those few points: the ankles, the wrists, the elbow, shoulders, the base of the neck, and the finger bends. If we go in close up on the hand, for example, if I look at the wireframe, those points in space are specific to the mesh. To be able to translate to the rig, you need those points to be always the bend on the fingers, and don't like use another span on the mesh, otherwise the rig won't work. It's the same thing for the elbows. It's like we are basically using 3 spans. It doesn't really necessitate more than that to create the proper shapes. And we propagate into the shoulder, same thing. The face is a little different from body parts, because it's more about like the eyelid, the eyebrow, and the mouth shape. The nose, you don't have like very strong specific. It's the only specific would be the labial fold, but that would mean we are going for something a lot more realistic in terms of look.
You sure what it is?
The labial fold? Yeah. Well, on this one, it would be that edge here. Does it show? So that yellow line we're looking at is like what would be in a very realistic model, like the continuity of the labial fold. And in the case we would use a labial fold, we would push that line towards the corner of the mouth. But in that case, it's way looser because we don't need high resolution meshes. For the eyelids, which are really important, the black stripes basically describe where the eyelid is contained on the face. So those lines should always represent the eyelid. If you start to have one of those lines on the cheekbone or on the brow line, you went a little too far in your model, and you have to bring those lines back to the eyelid shapes. Same thing goes for the mouth, actually, very important. You want like those pieces basically describe the contour of the mouth. And you want to preserve those because like any articulation of the mouth, any blend shape we're going to create for one character, if those points are proper to the different models, you're going to be able to transfer the blend shape. Not 100%, but save a lot of time. The eyebrows, same thing. I mark them in a black line. Brow movement are really like a huge part of facial expression, anger, happiness, sadness. So same thing, like you want to preserve those attributes and propagate them within all your meshes, all your different models to make sure that the rigging task is cut in half. Alright. So this mesh doesn't have teeth or tongue yet. We're gonna have to figure out how we want to do those in terms of design. But we do have the mouse bag. So if we look at it on the side view, it's very simplified, but it's inside. But still, like you need every line within range of the lips have to move with the lips. So you want to make sure those guys are moving along with the rest.
The eyes are temporal, so right? The eyes.
Yeah, the eyes are just like display eyes. They're really like face.
They're what?
So they're just temporary.
Oh.
Yeah, they're just for display.
Yeah, you can use it as a temp eye, and we're gonna send you the real eyes that you can scale after and replace it.
Okay. Sammy, can you repeat that just in case we didn't get that for the camera?
Well, the eyes are temporary. They're just display right now. We will put like some real eyes later on. But just for like the sculpting and the modeling, any sphere work,
Yeah.
right? Do I need to talk about the flow of the mesh? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
the face. Maybe.
okay, in terms of flow, I opted for something very simple. Everything is pretty much contained within itself. If we look at that, like all this part is creating a mask around the eyes. So basically that part of the face can be articulated by itself because it doesn't intersect with the rest of the face. Same thing goes for the lower part of the face. Okay, if we look at that, like that includes the tip of the chin and like the middle of the nose and the mouth, of course. So all this part is like articulated by itself. Why do we do that? We do that to be able to sculpt faster and make sure like the simple feature translates easily. When we do a blend shape on a self-contained surface, it's like everything flowed by itself and makes like really better shapes. And you avoid like all the kinks created by 3-point corners, 5-point corners, or sometimes 6-point corner. Right. The last part to look in is basically like the face itself.
The jawline.
Can you speak a little louder?
The jawline here is cut, and if we go there, it goes across. So basically, the whole face is cut off from the head, if we want. The ears are just an extrude, but if you look at the pattern I created around the ear that goes onto the face in the direction of the eye, I created that simple pattern because if you have those 5 corners intersection, which are basically the same as this one, if you only have this one, that line here is always going to be a problem because it creates a stress from the ear towards the eye, and all that geometry is always a struggle to make sure it looks really nice. So that's really just an aesthetic point. Alright. The mouse is basically a loop. So yeah, the main thing that even if it looks very busy, it makes it really easy to sculpt around, create a smile, create a mouth front, or shapes. Most of the mouth shapes, if they are contained within a loop, are going to survive like all the way. If you start to describe the corner of the mouth with flipped polygons or like busy area and face orientation switch, it's going to look good in a neutral, it's going to look good in a few positions, a few expressions, but it's not going to look good all the way. This basically, with a loop like that, you have a mouse which is a sphere, and you can tweak it in any direction and it will survive. The rest of the body, I would say, is very simple, very tubular. Since we're not going for hyper-realistic models, the essence of the model needed is that it will look good in deformation, even if we don't see it under clothing and under all the apparels from the character. The fact that the mesh is deforming properly is going to help rigging, because if we run simulation, if we run weight transfers, when the mesh itself is properly rigged, it's going to be super easy to put clothes on. And also the fact that when you want to build clothes, you using the mesh itself. You're not creating a new mesh. If I was to build a shirt for that character, all I would do is select faces.
What was the shortcut you used to make that girl like that?
Oh, shift and larger than.
Shift plus.
Larger than
Shift plus. Oh, greater than or larger than sign. Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then I do a duplicate face. And now I just pull the normals on it,
Oh, wow.
and I have my shirt. Okay, and since it lines up perfectly with the body, rigging it is just gonna have to do a weight transfer, a weight projection. So, like that's full pro bono. You get like 2 for 1, and same for every clause on the character.
Can you do me a favor and can you show that one more time?
Alright,
Please.
alright, no problem.
Thank you.
Alright, so basically, let's do shorts this time. I'm gonna select all the faces that represent the boxers. Right. Grab those guys, do a face duplicate. Go into
Then you're gonna go to object mode, then select that.
object mode, select this guy, switch from object world or wherever you were at to normals, and just use the normal arrow, which is the yellow one. Then you just created shorts.
Awesome. Thank you.
But you can do socks the same way.
You don't have to show socks.
Alright.
Would you do that for shoes as well?
No, like everything that is, let's say, ornaments, like a hat, shoes, a watch.
Gloves?
No, actually, gloves is the opposite, because you really need the fabric of the gloves to follow the fingers. So you need the gloves to be almost a duplicate of the hand.
Okay.
Let's say 95% of the time.
What about like a coat or something like that?
Sorry?
What about like a coat? If it can't
No,
be
a coat you would start with the body mesh,
Okay.
and then you would like edit it to do the cut line in the middle, the color, the cuffs, buttons with the extra pieces.
Okay, and then so you were saying like the shoes and hats.
Yeah, shoes, hats, watch, rings, all these. Mostly solid elements. They don't bend, they don't deform that much. Like the shoes, even if they deform in their own universe. Because they are represented by different materials.
So Mila has already shoes. We're gonna use those and deform it, and it's pretty much the same kind of shoes that other child's gonna have. And we can modify it for the adults also
Okay, so
if we need it.
so none of the character modelers have to worry about shoes.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so that's definitely one of the things I want to discuss because we've got 3 character modelers present here, and then a couple for there. Is what exactly they're going to need to make sure that they touch upon on the mesh and the whole ZBrush normal map. Make sure we don't have any confusion about what is procedure for you guys.
Well, what you see is what we want to get, right? We don't need more details. We don't need high frequency things in it. It's a cartoon. It's gonna have texture of friendly look. We want really simple lines, really clean ones, like really nice curves, not little bumpy ones. Basically, Samy just highlighted all the areas you have to be careful of. The points that represents all the dark area, those points are really important. You can move them around, but if you move them, please keep the shading on if you can, because it's going to remind you those points has to be the elbows or has to be the joint of the fingers or whatever. And those are the one that rigging's going to look at to put their joint on. So the elbow, if it's too close from the shoulder, it's going to bend really weird. It's basically that. It's a really nice mesh. You use it, you deform it basically. You don't edit it. We don't want that because you don't edit the geometry. You don't take out, you don't add geometry on it.
Okay, did everybody catch that? We're not extruding or
editing
deleting.
anything. It has to.
It's just moving.
Yeah, the topology has to be staying like that.
Okay.
Because rigging needs to be able to have the same number of points, the same vertex order also. So, it's very important. You can deform it, but don't.
Add or subtract.
Yeah, exactly.
Did everybody catch that? So it's really important for when you have a base mesh that you start with, because of like what he's talking about for rigging, that we don't add or subtract anything, because it could mess with it.
Yeah, and you're saying there's really no high frequency details, so no subdivisions are necessary. Just take in the topology and move it around to reshape it, and that's it. All those characters going to be subdivided as a render, right? Right.
So they won't need more details. It's going to be really nice curves. So right now you have a base mesh that's going to get subdied at the end, right? So when you sculpt it, you look at it in the three mode. So you're gonna have the smooth version that's gonna look like this. Samy's gonna show you how his technique of, you don't want to sculpt all the time the 2 parts of the head or the 2 parts of the arms, and you want to kind of mirror it, right? And there's a way to do it without, messing up the vertex order.
Okay.
And he's gonna show you this.
Great. And then just to clarify, obviously the base mesh we've just covered, but when it comes to the clothes and the accessories, you're going to detail as need be. Is there a poly count?
No, that's just a one-off, right? Every character is going to have different things, different clothes. So if we see that we can use the Mila's jacket and move it around and make it a new jacket, well, we'll do that. But that is different. We don't need to be to have the same vertice amount or vertices order.
Okay.
rigging is gonna just remap their weight on it, so it's gonna be, and even maybe having cloud simulation on it. So
Right.
we'll see how that goes. But basically, it's the most important things is the base mesh to keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
And the faces are what's telling the story.
Yeah.
So pay a lot of attention on your face, the nice clean curves. The hands shouldn't be moving too much. They should have all the same kind of hands. So look at your design. All the hands should be pretty similar. Don't go crazy on like getting one little chunkier or they're little child, so it should all have the same kind of things.
Our modelers, they're going to be doing the clothes as well, though, right?
Yeah, close.
Okay, cool.
The thing with the clothes, to remember when you build clothes for a character and you feel like you don't have enough resolution, make sure you don't have enough resolution. If you add an edge on the mesh, it's because you need it. 100% sure you need it. Always. Because the lower, the better. Always.
Mm-hmm. So we don't want to edge loop to death.
No, yeah. Or like, smooth your surface because you think you're going to be able to sculpt it better. Try to go as far as you can with the minimum given to you, always.
Yeah. And that said, we don't need folds. Sometimes it's nice to sculpt little folds and it looks great, but it deforms really bad.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. We want those clothes as clean as possible. And if we need cloud simulation, the fold's going to come with that.
Right.
If we don't need it, it's going to be rigged. And if we see that really the art directions say, okay, we really need folds here,
Yeah.
we'll do some PSDs, some blend shapes to add this on top of the rig,
Okay.
and not before.
Great. Thank you.
Something I just thought about. Last time we were talking about the normals direction. There is, when you go to your attribute spreadsheet, look in the render tab and always make sure that opposite is off. Because if opposite is on, even if it doesn't show in Maya, in rendering it's going to be back-faced, even if the normals are in the proper direction.
Huh.
So when you do like negative scaling, the opposite sometimes turns on.
Can you show the two-sided lighting also?
Oh yeah, and in lighting, turn off the two-sided lighting.
Turn it off?
Yeah, at all time. Because
Sure.
if it's on, I'll show you with two-sided lighting on, and I go to normals, reverse, I have to say the mesh. Normals, reverse direction. Okay, it looks the same. If I remove the two-sided lighting, I'm inside out.
So everything black shouldn't be black, and sometimes it's easier when you just build something to have the two-sided lighting, because you don't want to mess with the normals and it's easier to see. But make sure at the end that you check that your normals are facing the right way. And by that, you freeze before, because if you do a scaling, sometimes if you don't freeze, the normals are going to be showing like they are okay. But freeze everything, and that should reset it to reverse this if it's reversed.
Okay.
Alright, next step. Alright, now I'm going to talk about preserving your vertex order using a plugin called
Can you show the non-plugin way? And because some people don't have the plugin. No, the
okay. Well, they can put the plugin on. It's free.
well, if
Alright, I'll show
Macs,
without the plugin. Yeah. Show without the plugin. Alright, so if we get two meshes of the same object, should do it with a cube. Maybe. Yeah, let me do it with a cube. That's going to be much faster. Alright. Okay, so basically when you create a mesh, it has an original vertex order. Since those two guys are duplicates, if I look at the vertex, if I look at that guy here, and I look up here, it's number 24. If you look at the upper screen, if I select this guy on the other mesh, it's also number 24. So now, if I delete an edge on the surface, and I recreate one, unfortunately this guy is not the same number anymore. So you cannot create a blend shape anymore.
And blend shape is a way to see if your vertex order are fine, like quite quick. You know, you can do what Samy just did and select one vertex, but sometimes on a character it's difficult to see which vertex is which vertex to compare it. So if you do a blend shape and you try it and it goes apart, your vertex order are not correct. If it does blend, well, you're good. So keep a copy of the mesh in your scene and build, you know, your character with another copy of that same mesh. So you always have one that you can rely on, and you can try to see if it's still working.
So you have your non-destructible copy.
Yeah.
And then you.
The original one and your character.
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
Alright, let's go on this. Okay, so my duplicate is here in the center of the nice scene. Sometimes you need to do a symmetry. So you want to get rid of one piece of your model. In that case, I preserved the vertex. No, or not. Does it work? You sure it works, Philippe? I know.
Well, yeah. Well, the way you did your model is you cut it in half, and then you duplicate it in half, and you merge it again.
Yeah.
So you already have a half that's working. Every time you're gonna cut the other half, it's gonna be still missing. So the thing is, when you cut half of the cube, if you start by cutting the half where the number one vertex is, the second half has to be reset, right?
Yeah.
It has to. So what you do is, and what Samy did on the character is already cut his character in half. So half of the character that was left was reset from 1 to whatever the number was at the end, like 500 maybe. So when he does a copy, reverse copy, he's attaching 500 to like 1,000, right? So he's attaching a second part that's have to be deleted when you do your mirror. So the first part staying the same all the time. Saying he's going to show it. It's maybe a little difficult to say, but he's going to show it.
Okay, so now my two cubes have the same vertex. In theory, because I did already a split, if I get rid of that half, I shouldn't lose the vertex number. So you see, now I cut my surface in half, and the vertex are still the same number. If I grab it again, do a duplicate scaling in negative space, you want to select your original side first, and then the second duplicate. And when you do the combine,
I'm sorry, can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
There's some things that are going like really quick that I'm not sure how you did that. Like when you did the duplicate, all I saw you was go to scale and go -1.
Yeah.
How did your little hotkeys I'm missing?
oh no, there was no key.
No, it's exactly what Samy did. He went to
Yeah, I
scale.
did.
And that
I-
does it for you?
I just did a duplicate, Control D.
Oh, okay, that's what I was missing.
Yeah,
Because we
and-
can't see what you're doing on the.
Okay, yeah.
Just
And,
because not all of us, are
Right.
pros.
Right, then you do a negative scale on the direction, which is go halfway through.
Thanks.
Okay, so then what you have to do into your combine is make sure you select your original first and then your copy.
That's good.
It's okay, doesn't matter. Right, so now when I do my combine, get my edges. This. So I do a merge. So now, even if I split my surface, I should still have the same vertex up there, which is the same here. It's number 14. So I still can do a blend shape from one surface to the other because the vertex order is reassigned properly.
So, do you want to go in there and show, on the screen where you split? Just put this. So that you're using Okay, just to make sure that we resync this and make sure everything's clear, right? So if this is the character you're getting as the vertex order from 1 to whatever it is on this side, and the other side is the vertex that start like from here to this here. So he already split this one and copied it and attached it, right? So if we do a duplicate of that right here, and we split it and move it around and do the face, do the proportion, if we split, we duplicate it, reverse and reattach it, it's going to be the same thing as right here. So this point is going to be this point, and the point that you just duplicated is going to be this point. It's going to be renaming the points the same way, right? That's the key. So that's a little trick when you want to do like mirroring things, and you have to keep a vertex order. If it has been done like this, split here first, duplicate, attach, then you can do it all the time, right? If you don't delete anything here, it's going to keep the vertice numbering correctly.
Okay, so we're going to take the base mesh. Let's say
Base mesh.
I'm doing the little girl 1.
Yeah.
Then I duplicate it. Then
right
I
here.
cut her in half and delete 1/2. Make sure the verts are still numbered correctly.
Yeah, it should. If you select the one in the middle, it should keep the same way. But it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
You can just select points like Samy was doing, and then you can do a copy reverse in an instance. Maybe you can show that also.
That'd be great.
Because when you grab one point and you pull it, it's going to pull it on the same way, right? So you sculpt just one side and it's sculpting the other side.
Yeah.
You don't attach it. It's just like to see the proportion of the face, it's easier, right? And when you're done, you delete the instance and you do the real copy, you reattach, and it should be the same vertices order. So it should be able to blend from the little girl to the little boy or
Right.
whatever. Okay?
Ouais, makes sense. Je vais montrer pourquoi avec la tête.
Ouais,
Ouais.
instance, peut-être.
Les instances, je travaille jamais en instance.
Do we have any questions on that real quick?
I have one question. Now, just because the topology doesn't change, your point layer doesn't change, anything like that, but we do want a little asymmetry at the end, I assume. Or do you want them perfectly symmetrical the entire time? Because I think a little asymmetry at the end adds to the character usually.
It does. It depends on the design.
Okay.
The character designer,
Yeah.
it's going to be Louis Crane. He's the one that's going to, direct that.
Okay.
At the end, maybe we can do that. Maybe there's a little boy that's been a little rough in the corner, and he has, I don't know, ears that's going around, or a nose that's crooked.
Right.
But at first, we're gonna do it as straight as possible.
Sure. So wait till the very end.
Yeah, and it's gonna be just easier for rigging,
Sure.
also on the face, and blend shaping. Maybe it's gonna be a little easier to get it right.
Okay.
So depending on the design.
Well, the thing is that if you have a symmetrical shape to start with, you can add the asymmetrical aspect as a blend shape.
Okay. Yeah.
So your rig is going to be also perfectly symmetrical.
So it sounds like at least the base mesh should be symmetrical most of the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And for what we're doing, I think pretty much the face should be symmetrical. I think we want it to look cute as much as possible, and if it's symmetrical, it's easier to look cuter. But I'm not the art director or the designer. They are gonna call the shots for that.
When you're doing the deletion of the half, the instance and all that, are you including the mouth bag, or are you gonna?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything inside.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So, does everybody know how to do a copy and instance, a reverse copy and instance? Or everybody does?
I need a little.
Can we
Okay,
do it
yeah.
one more time, especially for I don't know where people are at
Okay.
overseas.
Yeah, sorry guys for the Max people. We're basically showing this in Maya. It's going to help you to learn Maya.
We actually need to discuss the Max FBX issue later before you
yeah.
leave, Philippe.
Yeah, guys that are working on Max. I'm receiving some FBX that works that are quads and some that are triangles. Please just check your options when you're exporting. I know you do, but when I'm getting triangles, it doesn't really work. So a couple of you guys sent me triangles and you sent me quads, so I know it works. Just make sure that you're checking all your options.
Vlarde had the same issue, and he said that he looked at the options and couldn't see where it is. Do you know what it is to make sure it doesn't triangulate?
I can ask. There's two guys that actually sent me files like this, and they resent it the same file as quads.
Okay.
And I can actually ask the question and send you an email about
That would be great. And I'll just send that to all the Max people.
Because I actually don't have Max, I don't know Max, so that would be really hard for me to help you out.
Okay, cool. So what is Samy doing right now?
So you just cut the head as an example.
And just to clarify, this is just an example. When you guys do the characters, we're not cutting the head off. We're keeping it all connected.
Yeah, don't cut the head.
I'm
There's
just gonna show you something.
Yeah.
There's something we have to talk with York about. I know that he wanted the head to be separate, but we have to talk to him about how we're gonna do that. But for now, just keep everything attached.
Okay. We'll edit this in post.
Oh, you will.
No.
Trust me.
So you made copies and then you lined them up? Or is that just in preparation for what you're gonna do?
No, it's for what I'm going to do. Alright, so fortunately, that didn't work. Je vais pas expliquer l'intérêt d'avoir un blanc shape. Oui. Et un peu juste. Non, c'est bon, je vais prendre les choses. Ouais, c'est ça. So the interest of cutting off your geometry in the proper direction is when it comes to face shapes, instead of working with the whole body. What I did the same thing as I did before with the cube, but with the head of my character. And now when I create a blend shape for my character, you can see like my blend shape is activated on the whole character, but I only have the head to work with. So what I did to make that work is go into the blend shape box and you remove the check topology. So it's only looking for vertices right now. So what happens is I can do whatever I want with it, almost. With a certain mesh. It will translate to the other one. So basically, once you're done with your sculpt on just head, you can transfer it to the whole body and just bake out the body. To bake out your model, it's just basically you do a duplicate, Control D, and then move it away. So now you have an extra copy, which doesn't contain any of the attributes of the original mesh at the blend shapes.
So
It only contains the vertex folder.
So it like deletes the history from the it starts fresh?
Yes.
I would be cautious about that. Just for people that's just starting, trying to keep the body attached to it and cutting it in the middle, I think it's enough, playing with the topology, because you can get carried away really fast, and it would be really sad to have like a really nice head that doesn't blend anymore, right? So don't put too much work into something you're not sure that's going to transfer. You can test it out, try it a couple of times and see you feel comfortable, you can do that. But the simplest way is to cut the middle, duplicate an instance that
Can you
we
show
can
that
show
real quick?
you.
Yeah.
We can show you that. Right?
You want to do the instance?
Just an instance. So, for example, this guy, if we mouse is really fast. So okay, if you do it, so right now I'm not in the middle of the grid at all. What I can do is,
You want to make sure the models are always in the middle of the grid?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you can do that, or you can just move your pivot into one of the vertices on the edge, and it's going to be doing the same thing. But you see, my pivot is right where it's supposed to be. It's in the middle. So let's say this is a face, and I sculpted something like that, and I was like, oh, okay, I need the other part of the face to see what's going on and see the proportions. So what you do is take the mesh, you go to duplicate, and duplicate special, right? So you open the little option, you click instance, and into your scale, you do minus when you apply it. So it does your duplicate reverse, right? But what it does also is it grabs the point, and it's going to be way easier for you to sculpt one side and see what it does on the other side. It's easier to see the proportion and stuff like that. Be careful in the middle, it's going to be doing the same, and you're going to have little gaps, but you can just resnap it in the middle if this was in the middle of the grid, right? So it's an easy way. Don't be scared of having gaps in the middle and stuff like that when you sculpt it. It's not a big deal. You just select at the end the whole edge, and you resnap it in the middle of the grid, right?
How do you resnap it?
Well, if I do this here, like that. Right now I'm not in the middle of the grid, but let's say I am. And okay. Convert that into text. Okay, so right now, if I would be in the middle of the grid, I would snap it with the grid option right here. But since I'm not, I'm going to snap it on the vertex. I know it's in the middle, right? So I'm placing this little tool here to help me out with snapping it here. So you just do, oh, okay. See, if your translate here is on object, it won't work as much, and you have to be the retain component spacing. That's gonna not work. Also, it's gonna try to keep the spacing in between the same, so you don't want that. You want it to be able to snap to that point here, right? So it would be easier if I was in the middle and I was using this for the grid. Okay, Samy is suggesting something also that could be fun to see. If you can do. That's not going to work with the instance.
No.
So forget about Samy. We'll just
Worse, it's all lined up.
So yeah, that's the instance.
Cool. And that other little thing about the snapping I didn't know about. So, because before I just would never touch that edge.
Okay.
And then I would just model around it, but
Yeah.
it's cool to know how to.
Yeah, no, don't be afraid. You know, you take your sculpt tool and you go ahead and you create what you have to create. The nose, particular, is an area that's difficult. It's always gonna separate itself, but that's not a big deal. Just double click on that edge, convert that into vertices, and re-snap it on the grid, right? And you're gonna have that gap close, and you have your nose going like this, and then you can just resculpt it and smooth out or cleaning your geometry. At the end, that's what's important. You delete this part, flip it with the real copy,
Yeah.
and make sure your normal is, if you freeze it, you change your normal back, and you combine and merge your vertices. That should be the same way as what Samy was saying. You know, that's a copy, it should blend with the original.
Now, going on to blend shapes.
Oh, I was just wondering, I'm assuming the character modelers will be also modeling the blend shapes as well for the different expressions, and we'll get a list of the phonemes and
Yeah.
facial expressions.
Yeah, that's gonna come after, but yeah, that would be great that if that person that did, I don't know, children one should be the one doing also the blend shape. He knows the face a little better, and you know that's always great to have this in person work on it. But yeah, we're gonna have like basic shape. They actually don't talk, so for phonemes and stuff like that, we won't need any.
Oh,
It's basically mouth open, smile, frown, a couple of shape for the mouth, a couple of shape for the eyes. You know, it's basic stuff, but enough to be fun. You know, sometimes it's just tedious work to do all the phonemes correctly. You know, so.
Would it be easier instead of the phonemes to have Louis or Matt do expression sheets and Matt have the modelers do blend sheets to match those expression sheets?
Yeah, it's basically what we're gonna add to ask for the designer to do. The character designer is gonna come up with a sheet of expressions.
Cool. So that'll come after. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
Great.
that's gonna be later. We're gonna concentrate on getting the design right on the characters
Yeah.
and having it approved and then doing the coding and stuff like that. So start with the face. You know, that's the main thing that's, you know, it's gonna take more time. If the face is right, after that, you know, the body we can tweak kind of fast. So, you know, you can just draft the body for the proportion of your character, but, you know, put more time into the face. That's the one we're gonna see the most, and trying to, as I said, to have the cleanest line possible and really nice curves. Don't try to put little skin pores in it. We don't need any of that, or wrinkles.
Don't add, don't subtract, so don't extrude, don't mess with
Yeah.
topology at all, just move. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Is there anything else that
Covers pretty much.
any questions on
Okay.
Yeah,
By the
it's-
way, there's no fingernails, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
don't put more than what you have. There's no toes because we won't ever see them. There are no fingernails. They're going to be textured because those guys are secondary characters. Mila is the main one with Sophia. So we're going to put a little more details on them.
I do have a question actually. In regards to the hair, how is that being handled? A hair system or geometry?
We're going to do for sure geometry stand-in. We have to see how we're going to treat the rest of the hair because we need to have the same look as the skin and the jacket for the final look. So that how painfully looks going to work on if we do real hair. That's going to be maybe a little weird to have something texture as painfully look with hair that's not going to render the same way. So we're going to have to see, but my guess is we're going to do stand-in, like kind of I'm sorry?
Proxy shape.
Yeah, proxy shape. It's more like a helmet, beautiful helmet, right? But we'll have to see at the end if we don't just go displacement on it, you know, and see if it works with our rendering. We're just in the, you know, at this point where we have to take some decisions, but we have to test it out also. So not committing on anything right now, but for sure just build some proxy, really nice little hair that doesn't have too much geometry, so it's going to animate a little faster for the animation, and we'll figure out how the hair is going to be treated after.
Any questions over here?
Would it be okay to take this model into, let's say, another program like ZBrush, and instead of using blend shapes, use the brushes there and bring them back?
ZBrush and Mudboxes are awesome to work with. You know, Maya, if you use a sculpt tool and you use to the sculpt tool in Maya and you touch Mudbox or ZBrush, you're in paradise, right? It's so much better. The smooth tool, everything is better about those tools because they're made to be sculpting tools. The thing is, if you bring it into Maya, Mudbox or ZBrush, you have to, and to see what a smooth version would be, you have to maybe double the geometry or triple the geometry to have this nice curve, right? So you can sculpt. But don't forget, that's not the final model. It's there. You just added geometry on that. So you have to go back to level 0. That's what we're gonna use, right? And it's always a little different from adding geometry and sculpting it and going back to 0 and then bringing it back to Maya. You're gonna see that your smooth version is not really how it was looking in Mudbox or ZBrush, and that's normal.
And you're losing the vertex order.
That's another thing. If you export that in OBG, I'm not sure if we're gonna keep that vertices order.
As far as I know, you do, because in order ZBrush originally wouldn't even let you bring it back in. The mesh would explode. Now it asks you if you'd like to update the topology, but just simply exporting it back and forth between the two programs will not change the vertex order. In fact, there's a go-to button.
If you don't,
It's in the OBJ options and Maya's
with the
options.
GOZ, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, like, when you smooth your mesh.
Right, of course. Always export the lowest of the
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, if you just smooth your mesh, go back to ground 0. It's like it's a chance game with ZBrush. Sometimes it doesn't export the proper vertex order.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So
If you want to try it, do a test. Look at how your pipeline of work's gonna be working. Just don't do a lot of work past like a week of working in ZBrush and then hope that it's gonna work. Just do a test, really quick. Bring it back to Maya, check if it works. That's kind of a reasonable way to do this. don't cut it in half and bring it into ZBrush. No, just keep it as one. And in ZBrush you have really nice mirror tools, or Mudbox you have mirror tools, so use that, right? And it should work. But
How do you
know,
test it when you bring it back into Maya to make sure?
into Maya, you should have your original mesh in,
Yeah.
and
and
you're importing your ZBrush sculpt test, right? And if you select the tool and you do a blend shape, it should be blending, right? If it explodes, well, your pipeline's not going well.
Can I add something as well? In regards to the blend shapes, if you're using Mudbox, there's some options in the FBX export where you can actually export your sculpt layers as blend shapes. That really speeds up the process.
Yeah.
And actually ZBrush does the same thing. If you download the free blend shape plugin, it works exactly the same way. Except it's not FBX.
Okay.
But the idea is you can use sculpt layers for your blend shapes. Just for anybody that needs to do that, it helps.
Well, and that being said, as far as our whole no OBJ rule, how is that going to translate when you it's all one mesh right now, so nothing is separated.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the new OBJ rule, OBJ was working when I was getting OBJs treated the right way. The thing is, most people would combine their meshes and send that as OBJ, and that would be really weird to open, right? And it was not a really good thing to do. So since Max and Maya is talking now with FBX, it's a more logical way to do it. So it's kind of easier for everybody to say, okay, let's export that on FBX and OBJ, where people were just doing whatever.
Yeah.
They were just combining stuff that didn't have to and shouldn't be combined.
Yeah.
So, exporting the OBJ into ZBrush on Mudbox, if it works, great, But at the end, you're not saving an OBJ, you're saving a Maya file or a FBX file if you have Max.
Cool. One of the things that Chasey and I were talking about, I think I talked to you about this as well, Philippe, is especially for those of us who, are students and such, is that to not take things personal as far as critique, and if it comes to the point, because we have such a deadline production-wise, if it's just not happening in the right amount of time that we need to get what you guys need for the show, then we'll unfortunately have to pull that character from that modeler and give it to someone else who can speed up the process, but not in a sense where we're punishing just because we're on a time crunch. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that here, and hopefully you can hear me over there, maybe you can reiterate, is that we have till October 31st for models for the trailer. I don't know how that's going to extend for the characters. So we just want to make sure that things are happening well in a reasonable amount of time. And if they're not, then we're going to have to make some decisions and pass off the models.
The thing is, it's great to have that much people interested to help out on the show, and we want everybody to actually experience some of the magic of the movie also, and be part of this, because that's going to be a great project, and it's going to win awards. Your name's going to be attached to something great. The thing is, a few of the modelers are just starting out. They don't have experience, and they want to try, and they should try. But sometimes it's getting a little too much on their hands, and starting with little props and stuff like that is great. If you have like a great talent and you don't need that much experience, we want to have you on our team, but we have to try. So that's, I think, what you're saying. We're gonna try everybody, and some's gonna succeed, some's gonna fail, and it's fine. It's normal. The first time I used a mouse, I was not modeling, right? So the first time I was modeling, it was not great. and it's with experience that you try stuff. You know, you learn from your mistakes. So when you get notes, don't get it personal. It's about your mesh. It's not about you. We're just trying to make you learn stuff, and at the same time you're trying to help us out with the movie. The thing is, if we see that it's not going anywhere, if you're learning stuff, great, everybody's happy. If you're not learning anything and it's not going anywhere, well, then we cannot afford to lose time. So that asset would be a prop, would be a character, is the same thing. We're going to shift it to somebody else that are a little more advanced and got it and able to finish it, right? So it's kind of sad sometimes, you know, you're putting a lot of effort and time on something, but you have to understand that this is a production. This is not just a class or just for fun. It has to go somewhere, and we have deadlines, so we have to do this. So that doesn't mean we don't want you. That means we're just gonna give you something a little easier, and sometimes it's not something really good for you if you take too much, because you're gonna feel like you didn't succeed. So just start where you think you're gonna be able to do and finish it, and then take another challenge, a little bigger challenge, and that's how you pace your experience and your time, and it's more fun, right? If you never model anything and you want to model a character, well, okay, you know, you can try, but most of the chances is you're gonna fail on it, and it's fine also, right? So don't take personally. We're gonna take out that character from you and give you a prop, and you're probably gonna be happier with the prop when it's gonna be finished, and everybody gonna say good job, right?
Well, and all in all, too, we're all still working on the same project to have that same amazing credit and experience and say, hey, I worked on that award-winning thing. So regardless of what we do, how many times we shift in different things, it's still a part of the team.
Yeah, and I see it as a team also. You know, we're helping each other out. So somebody that's not able to finish a model, somebody else gonna help him finish it, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, that person's gonna be able to take maybe later something else and finish it, and it's gonna have learned. Meanwhile, something that okay, that's how you do it, and that's how I should have done it. So that's the important thing here.
Thank you. Any questions about anything for Philippe or Samy? You're clear on when we get are we going to be able to pass the base mesh off to the three that are here now, and then for me, so I can give it to Sean, or are you going to email it? I give you the names and emails, and you email it to them, or how do you want to do that?
We can give it to you right now.
Great. So then, that being said, so cool. So you'll, Eric, Gio, Gray. I'll take one and I'll pass it to Sean. You'll get that tonight, and then you're confident on how to start. Of course, any questions, please email Samy and Philippe. Gray is also accessible as our instructor.
So I have to say something. So, I apologize in advance. Sometimes I don't reply to emails really quick. If it's urgent, just keep bugging me. Just send another email with another subject. So I'm gonna keep getting your name in my emails, and I'm gonna see, okay, he's really waiting on me. I have a list of things I have to go through, and things that are, a week old. So if you send me right now a question, it's going to take me a little time to go through it and get to your question. If it's really important, just keep bugging me, and I'll step, right away to your question and answer you. All right? But don't do that if it's not important.
Yeah, and make sure when you send the email, the subject has to be explicit, and let us know that it's about the production and it's not another hack on the internet.
Like maybe say Mila, character,
Yeah, whatever.
urgent,
mo-
whatever.
most people send an email with in the subject their asset
Yeah.
as a subject, and that's great because we know what it is right away.
Yeah.
If it's a question, you can put that in the subject also, or important question in the subject. So it's easier for me. But yeah, I apologize. I should be better at it, and I need maybe a little more time to do everything. But yeah, I'm gonna get through your question for sure.
Eric, do you have any questions? Gio?
We should
Ready to start?
really soon send you the Mila shoes and other stuff that maybe it's going to help you getting into the clothing. But the teeth and the tongue, the mouth interior, the eyes are coming also. We just want to make sure that it does follow the design for the teeth. It would be really close from Mila's, but we don't know if we want something similar or a little different to make them, different. And she's a main character, and sometimes it shows in the design also. We have to talk with Louis and with everybody for that, but that's coming too.
Okay. And then what is your hopeful estimated time of starting to get these base meshes done?
Well, it's difficult to say. It depends
know.
on the experience of some.
Yeah.
Some is going to be able to do it really quick, and some is going to have a little more problems.
Yeah.
And don't rush it. I think that's the main goal: is do something you think looks good. That's on design. And sometimes you have to cheat a little the design because it doesn't fit the face or the side view. But Louis is really good at it, so you should be really close. So if you match it and you see something's a little weird, you can ask questions also what we think about it.
Yeah.
But basically, take your time to do something right. Don't rush it and send me, okay, can you approve this? I'm about to unfold the UVs. I got that after somebody that started, and 2 days later he was unfolding the UVs because he thought his model was already done, right? So just take your time, make something really nice, and where you can send me a work in progress also. If you think I'm on the right way, on the right path, and yeah, that's fine. But it's difficult because we have tight deadlines.
Yeah.
I don't want to say go ahead and do as fast as possible because that's never really good results.
Yeah.
But how experienced you are. Just work hard on it, please. I think that would be the best way to describe this.
Yeah.
Work hard, and I think that's going to be the best of your knowledge and ability, and that's what we want.
And I would, if I'd say on top of that, to get on the forum as soon as possible and post your progress and questions as well. Not only, obviously, please email, and as Philippe was saying, but another reason we posted on the forum, as you guys know, and this is for your benefit and for them, is for other people like Cinzia and Richard or whomever else is in the lead area needs to make sure all things are on point. So it's imperative that you also post, screenshots on the forum. Progress. Here's where I'm at. What does this look like? How does this look? Don't hold back a question because you feel shy about it or you think it's a silly question or not, especially for us. So cool. All right, you're good.
Thank you, Samy.
Thank you. Cool. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. It was awesome.
Let me show you the plugin I installed on my version.
Okay.